Hey friends, this is Fernie, aka Friend the Human,
And it's Slapper.
and this is Vibes and Delights. Oh man, today I took off a half day. Honestly, I took off a half day just because yesterday was so miserable. That lady who kept asking me if I could speak English like over and over really fucked with me. And I think the reason why is just because I knew she was saying it just to be bigoted. She was like, of Middle Eastern descent, somewhere in that vicinity. And it's obvious it wasn't her first language. She had a really heavy accent and she was so fucking rude to me and kept asking me if I spoke English. And I'm just like, all because why she was saying that was because I she wanted to set up repair rentals, but usually whenever you set up rental, you have to set up repair too because the body shop the like rental agencies usually would like to know where the car is so they know how long their asset is going to be in use. Like they would like to be calling the body shop to be checking how much longer repairs are so they have a time frame on how long this car is going to be out, right? And so that's why we try to do repairs first. And she copped an attitude, so I immediately backed off and was like, "Alrighty, then. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. We can circle back to that. You know what I'm saying?" And then so I set up the rental. I was saying my goodbye because she didn't need any more, anything else. I asked her if she needed anything else. She said no. And I was like, all right, well, thank you. Have a good day. And then she was like, well, what about my repairs? And I was like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. You kind of were, kind of pressing back. I just don't want to make you uncomfortable. And then she was like, do you even speak English? Do you speak English? I need help with rental and repair. What? Do you not speak English? I'm speaking English. You can't? You don't understand? And I was like, I I was like, honestly, just like, ma'am, you're just kind of giving me some mixed signals. Like, I just heard you display a little bit of discomfort while trying to, get you set up on repairs. When I was mentioning it earlier, you seemed like you didn't want to. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. And she was like, you do you not understand? I didn't say any of that. I didn't say anything like that. You're lying and you don't speak English apparently because nowhere did I say any of that. And then finally, she was like, just send me to someone in customer service who can help me with repairs. That's not where you go for repairs. I'm the one to talk to for repairs. But if you want me to send you to fucking customer service, you miserable fucking bitch, I fucking will. And so I sent her to customer service, even though I'm not going to be spoken to like that. Like, I feel like the reason why she was doing it though is because she thought that I was white. And she thought that me being a white person would be upset that she was asking me, a white person, if I spoke English, which is something that, like a conservative, like evangelical person would definitely probably take mad offense to. You know what I'm
Well, you
saying?
don't think I speak English?
Right.
I was
It's
born
just
here. I speak
right.
American.
And so like after that whole ordeal, and it did bring me to tears because I knew it wasn't the fact that she was being a fucking huge bitch, which is not uncommon, although most people I'm able to diffuse, you know what I'm saying? But it was the fact that she was I knew as a minority, you know what I'm saying? Because those are tactics that white supremacists use against minorities. I knew she was doing that on purpose in an effort to get a rise out of me or to feel superior to me. And it fucked with me that she, a minority, was doing it to another minority. You know what I'm saying? Whether she knew I was white or not, she was doing it to provoke me. You know what I'm saying? And then pretended like she wasn't. And like it was just like a lot that somebody could be so vicious. And then like my brain like took it further and was just like it's just another case of another person BIPOC group just shitting on people and like black women. That's what it really felt like. And like even though I know it was the opposite, she wanted to make a white person feel less than or stupid, and instead she just hurt someone who understands her probably better than she'll ever understand. You know what I mean? And it's just really fucking frustrating to me that even like just the amount of like hateful people are out there, And then I came across that story yesterday with the Karen. And if you look on my Tickle Talk from yesterday, I did a response video to a comment about just how deep this mentality of hatred goes, all the way back to slavery, all the way back to chattel slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, and how it's all fucking connected. And what's even worse is that, like, what's something else that, like, is direct, like a direct thing of slavery, is fucking religion. Like, they stole the religions of the people they stole from those African countries. You know what I'm saying? And I said countries because Africa is a continent, you know what I'm saying? But like, they basically forced, crammed religion down slaves' throats. You know what I'm saying? They religion is so sinister to me in a number of ways. And then, like, as a kid, I would like to know a little more of your experiences out there. But I know Slappa's family is multi-religious. Like, dad was Mormon, mom grew up in Mormon country, you know what I'm saying? And like the dad was in like the big, religious, like, rich people churches that only care about you if you have money. My grandparents, like, the first time I went viral, you know what I'm saying, was about religion. And and like, in my family, as a kid, we grew up and we went to church. And I was thankful for the days we didn't have to go to church, because I hated going to church. You know what I'm saying? I only get one day to wake up late, and it's Saturday. And Saturday is filled with us just doing shit. You know what I'm saying? But even still, like, sometimes we would go home to Louisiana and I would think I would get out of going to church. And then we would have to go to church out there. And it was a million times worse because it was in the fucking woods. Like, I hated going to church. And then not only that, it's because, like, all they ever taught was that we're going to burn in hell for all time. All the cool stuff I liked was not good for you. And then all the teachings just didn't make any fucking sense. And I just, like, would logic constantly, like, well, why does the earth, like, the sun, like, circle the earth? I don't know, whatever
You're
bullshit.
asking too many questions.
Exactly.
Hold on. Whoa.
Like, so we would go to church every Sunday, and then we would have science class, and I would be like, I don't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how religion was to me, is just forever, always fucking contradicting literally everything that is fact, that they're required to teach us in school to make us somewhat not like dumb rocks that you see churning out of the school systems these days. You know what I'm saying? It, like, really sucks. I hate religion. And that religion story, the one that I went viral on that has over 4 million views, like, what was the point of that whole situation? Like, why did my grandparents decide to corner me in the bathroom and tell me I was going to go to hell? Like, that was going to make me want to, you know, like, if I'm dead, like, at the ripe age of, like, what, like, I was 16 in that story, but, like, at the ripe age of, like, I don't know, like, maybe 10 or 11, I was just like, if I'm going to die and go to hell, I'm dead. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always thought that. Like, I don't really care, because that's a issue for afterlife, for
That's
any
for dead Freddy
that's
to
for
worry
dead
about.
for any to think about. I have had that mentality for so long. I do not like religion, and I think it destroys people mentally. Oh gosh. So
It definitely. I feel like religion can be good, but it's like so can I don't know. Anything can be good, no matter how like terrible it is. You know what I mean?
I suppose you're right.
But
Like,
that's like
moderation.
usually for really bad shit to like turn out good. It's got to be like really carefully made that way. Like
For it to be
yeah,
so sinister the way it is.
basically. Sorry if we're rambling here, but
Lots of religious trauma.
I know. But I feel like it can be good, but it also can be used to entirely manipulate so many people and just like prey on people's insecurities and traumas and any crisis they go through. You can manipulate people with religion because it's so all powerful and you have to follow it, whatever it is. You have to just have faith and believe, and that's
Right.
so easily taken
And
advantage of.
I feel like it's even more sinister because all of these like writings, like the King James, that King Rames, you know what I'm saying? He literally made that up just to divorce a wife. You know what I'm saying? So he could cheat. You know what I'm saying? Like he literally just made that up. And then
Right.
all the teachings in the Bible, like whether it's Old Testament, the New Testament, whatever the fuck you want to call it, those were not written by Jesus and Glob, you know what I'm saying? They were written by people, and therefore they are able to be twisted to fit whoever's narrative.
Right. I think
You
that's
know what I'm
like
saying? I think
as a
that's the
kid,
scariest part.
that's where my dad fucked up is like giving me like scholarly writings. I was like a Bible nerd kid when I was little, and I would love reading the Bible stories and all that. So he started getting me like scholarly theology shit, and it would like have little addendums at the bottom about like this was actually in whatever Hebrew translation meant this, and I was like, wait, there's like other versions of this, and then I went into learning how like how many times has the Bible been rewritten, who had their hands in it, all the like dramas that happened through all the many
Oh
centuries,
shit.
and how everyone translated it different and believed different things about it, and I was like, maybe what they're saying at my church isn't like what's actually written in stone. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You're like, so your dad just told you to read it and then you did, and then it taught you things.
Yeah, I read that shit. And it don't make sense.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And not to mention, I like follow the Reverend on TikTok. He's a trans, oh, he called himself something like he's just a trans pastor, and he's Appalachian pastor, and he's always just schooling all these people all of the time, you know. And he had mentioned something about what's it called, the rapture, right? What was that?
Yeah.
What was what we went into and I got
The
fucking
rapture.
okay, and like apparent
Revelations.
revelations, and like apparently there's like a whole deep cult about it, how they're actually trying to like bring across the like the end of the world so that they can secure their spot there or some shit like that. And when I tell y'all that the more Sapa told me about what that is, and when you said that the people who are trying to make it happen and saying that they're the right way, but they're still trying to make it happen, so that means that they're actually the antichrist, you guys. I just like sat there like I try to be in my room and in bed, or at least by 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30 at the latest. You know what I'm saying? I was up until 3, just dumbfounded. I was just like, my whole brain was exploding. And people believe this stuff. And like the way that people believe it, I think that's what I was so shocked about, is that these people they exist, they vote, they drive next to you
They
in their
live
cars,
among us.
they live among us.
Sus.
And it's I think right. And I'm just like, it's just like I don't know how these people make it through the day. If you it's I don't get it. I don't understand. It's like don't look up is so like it's really alarming. It's kind of scary. And that's why you have all these angry people accidentally killing kids and stuff and shooting them, and just because a ball rolled into their yard, or they turned around in a driveway, or they accidentally got into the wrong car. Like, you guys,
Right.
oh my gosh, religion is scary. These like 45 supporters, that is a cult. It is scary. All this stuff is culty, in my opinion. I guess that's why I kind of brought up the MAGA thing. But anyway, like it's all a cult and it's all really, really similar. Anyway, so if you haven't guessed, today's theme is church and religious trauma and just church stories and shit like that. And I have a lot to say. And I know we have been kind of doing shorter episodes. It ain't gonna be a short one. So buckle up, y'all. All right. So we're gonna read three stories. The first one is from Pro Revenge and is called My Grandmother Put Greedy Preachers in Their Places Twice, even after she died. All right. So there's a too long didn't read. I'm not going to. I'm just going to start in. So, my grandmother was a member of a large conservative Bible believing church for her entire adult life. This church, which I'll call Big White Church, was a member of a large evangelical. By the way, speaking of religions and big white things, did you see that the KKK leader died?
Which one?
I don't know. He died like the other day. Hold on, I'll look at it. And then did you see also that Jerry Springer died?
Jerry,
And then did you
Jerry.
also see that fucking Carolyn Brooks
Hey,
died?
good for her.
3 for 3.
Right.
Well, like, like I got mixed feelings about Jerry Springer, but at the end of the day, he absolutely did just like kind of capitalize off of black people.
He's just
And
the starter of reality TV, and you know how great that is for the world. So we love that guy. Good for him.
Maury.
You know, they all deserve it.
Oh, here it says Thomas Robb, the leader of the KKK, dies at 77. But still, like, I think it's pretty awesome, or I think it's pretty crazy that two really evil people have unalived or died, and then
Well,
one who kind of sowed chaos in the minority community.
it kind of it kind of gives me, like optimism, like when I'm at my like lowest point when I think about the world. It really gives me like a good sense of hope that like a lot of the worst people are really old now. Like they're getting older and older, and I see the younger people kind of getting it together, like as far as like human rights go, at
You know what?
least.
That's what's up, because you're right. I was thinking to myself, like, Jerry Springer died. That's crazy. Like, that was a part of my childhood. But then at the same time, I'm also like, maybe we can like get through some of this trauma now instead of just like wanting to be messy on TV. Like, you know what I mean?
That'll never stop.
Well, I know, but maybe there's a different way now. Instead of like capitalizing on the stereotypes that show really was. I mean, like, I'm not saying like I'm like some of that was like manufactured
Oh,
stereotypical
it was like, yeah,
nonsense.
so much
Like,
just fake episodes.
maybe we can start anew with like different types of chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
let's still have chaos,
yeah,
but not so exploitative, I
I think that's
guess.
already happening just
Yeah.
because people have like already seen Jerry Springer. Like Jerry Springer only got huge because there was like the first time. It was like
Mm.
the first show where you just showed people being crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and most people had never seen that. And that was kind of when cable just blew up.
You know what I just like kind of thought about essentially is we're doing the chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Shit, are we Jerry
Like
Springer?
we're not like Jerry Springer, but we're like we are reading people's chaos and like talking about it. But I guess we don't know the races of these people. You know what I'm saying? We're not like
I mean, we
judging
do.
them. Some
I'm
of them,
judging.
I'm
I'm
sure.
judging all of y'all.
Well, but I mean, but it's almost like what you're about to get with Jerry Springer. It's a demographic. But
Yeah,
in
people
these
tune into
stories,
Jerry Springer for a very
very
specific.
specific, yeah. So like for us, like we're reading about the chaos and we're talking about the chaos, but it's also just all chaos, not black people, Hispanic people, poor people. Like no, like my brother's girl. I fucked my brother's girlfriend. I don't know. I don't know what they had on Jerry Springer anymore. I'm
Pretty
not.
much, yeah.
But anyway, okay. So this story is called "My Grandmother Put Greedy Preachers in Their Places Twice, Even After She Died." And I'm going to skip the TLDR and jump right in. My grandmother was a member of a large conservative Bible believing church for their entire life. Oh, yeah, that's why I brought up the KKK later. This church, which I'll call Big White Church, was a member of a large evangelical denomination. Every time I see evangelical, I think about Evangelion.
Right.
I'm glad that's the association I have. Big White Church was located in a prosperous suburb of a large city in the Bible Bible Belt Bible Belt of the Deep South. So, what is
This is
wrong
like a
with me?
movie trailer intro. In a prosperous suburb of a large city in the Bible Belt of the Deep South
Right.
of the USA,
Of the US of A.
in the Big White Church.
Grandma.
Grandma, why
Oh,
are all the cookies on the floor?
I can't get up. I need help. That shit was so crazy. Anyway, but okay, it says Big White Church was located in a prosperous suburb of a large city in the Bible Belt of the Deep South of the USA. God. Grandma was very active in Big White Church. She worked in the nursery every Sunday morning, helped cook hundreds of fellowship breakfasts and dinners, accompanied her children and grandchildren on dozens of church retreats and choir tours, taught youth Bible study on Sunday nights, and was very active in supporting home missions as well as helping other youth programs. Always tithed, like throwing money at churches, even though they're trying to get more taxpayer dollars, even though take they don't even pay taxes, but they want taxpayer money, but whatever. Anyway, so she always paid her tithes and often gave extra for missions and special offerings. Grandma's greatest talent was making other people feel important. Importante. I've seen this firsthand many times. Although I belong to a different church, I often visit with my grandma. And when I did, I usually went to Big White Church functions with her. I've seen her single handedly cook breakfast for dozens of Big White Church youth, a task which took over 2 hours, even in the church's large kitchen. Then, after the meal, she asked the group for a round of applause for the high school student leader for doing such an amazing job during prayer breakfast. Wow. I remember that on a big white church, youth retreat at a rural church camp. She drove most of the night to go back to the city and retrieve a big box of evangelistic materials that one of the assistant pastors, whom I'll call ass pastor, had forgotten and asked her to get in time for our morning program the next day. His boss, the senior pastor, who I'll call pompous pastor, never found out that ass pastor had screwed up or that grandma had fixed it for him. Ass pastor never even thanked grandma, even though I was a child. This bothered me so much that I asked her about it. She said that she didn't mind at all, and she just told me her reward will be that those materials would help children find Jesus.
Poor grandma.
Short. I know. I'm just like, they just used her and she just did it. Like, even like, no matter what I say, like, the peaceful Christians, I still fucks with you. You know what I'm saying? I think you're a little sus, but I still fucks with you. I still rocks with you. But people straight up take advantage of y'all. I'm just gonna, or some of y'all, but this person definitely. And then grandma's service to her church ended abruptly at the age of 73 when she broke her back in a car accident. Afterward, for the last 10 years of her life, she was homebound and couldn't go to church. And because of this injury and declining health due to old age, her mind was just as sharp as ever and her faith remained sincere, but her body wore out little more every day. During those 10 years, she made many efforts to reach out to her church, its leadership, and her church friends, inviting them to visit her at home without success. Every one of those invitations was declined or simply ignored. Didn't your dad go through something like that?
Yes. My dad got cancer, and the church that he was like so dedicated to and helped out all the time, suddenly he was too sick to help out, and suddenly they just didn't talk to him. It was super cool.
You know, even though I think your sister is a miserable, horrible person, I do remember her telling me and in bitter anger about how they treated your dad while he was in the hospital because I guess she still lived at home.
Yeah.
And I will say that the amount of pain that I saw in her face talking about your dad and how he was so devoted and they did not reciprocate, I will say that it sounds pretty brutal what they put him through. And the same with my own grandparents. My grandparents, my granddad was a deacon at the church, and my grandma was, um, what do you call him, an usher for many year. You know what I'm saying? And but no, like for real, like when my grandma got sick, when my grandpa stopped, helping so much and, using his carpenter skills and money and, having the latest and the greatest and all this stuff, whenever he stopped, they stopped. And in fact, they kept asking because my grandparents always had a really nice Cadillac. You saw them like the last few Cadillacs I think you've seen.
Yeah.
My grandparents, they would still ask them for rides. Yo, can you pick up the pastor because you have the nicest Cadillac? Essentially, was what they were reduced to, even though they were getting older and should not have been driving whatsoever. But they used and they asked for money and they still asked for tithes until the day they both passed away. I'm pretty sure.
Until the day I
For
die.
real though, like it's just so disgusting. And my cousin, um her mother, remember at her funeral, she said they called her a quiet woman and they loved her for
Yeah.
how quiet she was. And she
I
never
mean,
asked for anything, and I was so angry that they reduced my fiery aunt to
yeah.
a quiet, meek woman. And
Well,
I,
that's the culture of it is like, I mean, what's a good woman to these church people?
right,
Subservient, quiet, just takes care of the kids, cleaning, cooking,
feeding the
everything,
children,
just like doing everything for their man of God.
right,
And so he can just do man of God things and be the hero and convert people or whatever the fuck.
right.
And
And
so if you want to be a part of that as a woman, that's what they want. They don't want you to exist at all, basically. So
at least in the Bible Belt ones, because it seems like there's like more churches coming around that are trying to be more progressive. I will advise, but still, it's just like this type of religious Christian Bible Belt nonsense, Southern Baptist psychoticness is the stuff that traumatizes people. It hurts people.
yeah,
So I will say that. But all the invitations were ignored or declined. Near the end, when she was in home hospice care, she decided to plan her own funeral. That's honestly a good idea. I think we've broached the subject a few times. It's like a really weird, like you have to be in a really weird, clear, like really positive, secure relationship to just like, hey, we should probably talk about funerals and like our plans and like what our wants are before it's too late. Like I love that we can talk about that. Like I'm real specific on what I want at my funeral. Um because I'm not going to enjoy it, but I want damn sure for everyone around me too. And if anybody tries to be fake, I want everybody to oust them. Get the fuck out of this funeral. She didn't even fucking like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, so near the end, she was basically ignored, and she decided to plan her own funeral. She and my grandpa called her church and asked her, the senior pastor, pompous pastor, whom she had known for over 30 years, to visit her so they could plan her memorial service, which she and grandma wanted to be held at the church. Pompous pastor was too busy, but ass pastor stopped by a few days later. According to my grandpa, here's what happened at the meeting. With my grandma literally on her deathbed, grandma, grandpa, and ass pastor discussed a funeral for a couple minutes before ass pastor started pressuring her to lay up your treasure in heaven by remembering your church in your will.
Uh huh. Of
What for, like
course.
an ad, like whenever, oh, the
So
will, not
yeah,
the
you
obituary.
gonna how much money you giving us when you die, bitch?
Oh,
Just throw that out there.
damn.
That's real heavenly and holy of that priest.
Damn, I totally misunderstood. I thought they meant like, when you're writing your obituary, like in the, like, free advertisement, like
Right.
that fucking dude at my dad's funeral, like he was just like, y'all should come down to this church, you know what I'm saying? Even though we fucking live in Texas, nobody's coming down there every fucking Sunday, bitch. Anyway, and you never even met my dad, you fucking miserable sack of. Okay. Anyway, I didn't even register what that even meant. So that made me even more ragey
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking about like advertising, but they was talking about money, like in the will.
That's all they want
Damn.
from her.
Damn, that's crazy. I'm still just like, I'm sorry that like totally caught me off guard about, like, I was thinking obituary and not will, but anyway,
It's that
this is
religious
religion.
trauma.
Is this true? Oh my. Oh my gosh, it is. All right. And then so he starts, talking about that on her deathbed within a few minutes of being at grandma's. And then grandpa told him firmly that this is neither the time or place to discuss her will. Right. They went back to discussing the funeral for a few minutes when he steered the conversation back to her will with
Throw them
with
out, dude.
liberal injections of how badly her church needed her support. Ooh. Grandpa told him several times,
He is so nice. Way too
that
nice.
it is inappropriate to talk to grandma about her will or the church's financial needs because she was terminally ill and an enormous amount of physical pain. As pastor agreed and briefly talked about the funeral, but would always keep going back to the financial needs. Heavenly rewards, where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21, Luke 12:34. Okay, real talk. When I saw Luke 1, 2, 3, 4, I was like, he made that shit up. He made that shit up.
That's funny.
My grandma started crying. What an asshole. These church people, I was crying in the bathroom when my grandparents, like accosted me about the Bible and getting baptized. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you people want to bring people to tears? Like, and what's even worse is that they bring people to tears and then say, yeah, you're crying because that's the devil and blah, blah, blah. Like the devil's trying to get out
That's what they
and blah,
do.
blah, blah. Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
I went to a youth church conference or something one time with my uh, youth group, and they had a big, I don't know, concert or whatever with like the worship people, and then like big loud music, emotional shit. And at the end, they just start rattling off basically anything a teenager would feel insecure about, like
Like puberty.
yeah, like your
Oh,
your body's
jeez.
changing and you're having these weird feelings, and you know
Is
that's
your
that's
body
that's the
changing?
devil.
That's
And
the
the only
devil.
way to like get over these feelings and feel better is to ask Jesus into your heart and all that shit. And it was just making kids cry. These kids were crying
Oh my
because there's
gosh.
adults up there they look up to. After playing all this emotional music and the kids are all into it, they just start coming down on them and making them feel like shit about just normal things and
That
making
is,
kids cry. And that's like the best way to get people to join your religion is make them feel shitty about themselves and feel like you're the only hope to make them not feel shitty.
good gosh.
So they really don't care when they make people cry. I think they probably like it because they know their little plans working. It's getting to them.
Right. Ugh, just and it's always like they say that it's like the LGBTQIA plus, it's like the people who were leftists and stuff like that. It's all the wrong people. It's always them just trying to destroy the minds of the young. That's you can't change my mind as my son just literally walked by. Anyway, so the grandma starts crying. To put this into context, my grandma was more than a steel magnolia. She was titanium coated with diamond wrapped in Kevlar. She rarely ever cried and never ever cried about herself. Not one tear when the doctor told her that her back was broken so badly that she would never walk again, nor during the following 6 months in futile rehab. She would shed a tear, but well managed tears at funerals and while visiting family members in the hospital when they receive bad news. And I guess I hear suppressing herself, suppressing
Right.
her
Being a
emotions,
good woman,
being a
not
good
causing a
woman,
scene.
not causing a scene, even though like the correct response in many of those situations is to cry
Right.
grievously. You
Like, hey,
like,
you're never gonna walk again. You fucked your back up. Yeah, I'm gonna
yes,
cry, dude.
yeah. I like there's like a finality to certain things that we should be allowed to feel, and like even in cases like we read some story. I read a story recent, like I think for the live, right? With the dying of the families, the family members, the daughter, you know what I'm saying, and how the people were so callous to those people. It's like even in situations where the correct response is to cry and to sob, it's not acceptable. You have to be a fucking robot. Even Bender, the fucking robot, because I've been watching a lot of Futurama. Even he is an emotional asshole. He's an emotional dick bag. You know what I'm saying? The men are so emotional and they act like that they're not emotional beings, but they are. You're more emotional than me sometimes. Sometimes.
It's hard though, because of this shit. Like, I don't know. I often think about, why are you the way you are, you fucking idiot? And I think a lot of it just comes back to I was raised in like a real churchy. My uncle, great uncle, was like the head pastor at the church where we spent most of my childhood and shit. And it was basically like if you're showing too much emotion, you're like too connected to the world, and you should just let God take control. So why are you so upset when you know like you don't have faith? And so I feel like a lot of times, even like good feelings, I have a hard time expressing sometimes because I feel bad about feeling the feelings that are normal. I don't know. Like when like you'll compliment me sometimes, or friends will say nice things about me and I'll be like, "Ugh," like I feel I like it, but like I don't know how to react cuz I feel like I should not like that. I shouldn't like being liked.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Like I caught that really early and I was like, you will accept my love for you. You'll let me take care of you. And I'm gonna introduce you to this love that I know about. I'm gonna introduce you to her. It was my mom, and then you ate the banana pudding. I'm kidding. You deserve to be able to feel however you want to. And I hope that even through all my Aries fury, that you are always safe with me. And I love you so much. I hope you know
I love you too.
that. Anyway, so I really do love you though, for real. Steel magnolia. But anyway, so she rarely ever cried ever about herself, no matter what the bad news was. She would try to console others. She would cry to console others, weep with those who weep, but nobody, not grandpa, not her daughter, my mom, nor any of my uncles or grandma's siblings ever remembered her crying for herself. And my grandma was sobbing uncontrollably. Grandpa, a retired steelworker, former Marine sergeant, and Korean War veteran, physically grabbed Ass Pastor and escorted him from out of their house, not too gently. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Grandma lived for another 6 months, mostly out of sheer force of will. Okay, Grandmama. Eventually, though, Grandma passed away and we held her memorial at the funeral home, not Big White Church. Ooh, fuck you and your tithes or whatever he was asking for. And then not even in the audience did they come. Wow. To start the service, Grandpa stood at the podium in front of the crowd and said, "Some of you may have heard that I disinvited pompous pastor and ass pastor from this funeral service. This service is not an appropriate place for me to give you my reasons for doing this, although you all know me, and so you know that my reasons are good ones. Also, my wife asked me to exclude them. This funeral service may be different from other funerals that you have attended. It is going to be an open microphone funeral. Everyone who wants to say something is invited to come up here and describe your friendship with my wife. Tell a story that is worth remembering or anything else that you want to say that will honor her memory and bring comfort to everyone here today." That is exactly what I told Sapa I wanted. I was like, I don't care if it's karaoke. I don't care. I just want the genuine memories and the drinks are flowing and the clouds heavy,
Blowing.
heavy. And then I asked several family members to prepare statements, but you don't have to have anything prepared. So please, if you want to say anything, come up here and do so. There were about 100 people at the service. At least a third of them eventually stepped up to the microphone. The service, which we had planned to last 30 minutes, lasted for over 2 hours, and as best I can tell, not one person left early. There was laughing, crying, and hugging. Three of her grandchildren played some of her favorite songs on the piano and guitar, and we all joined hands and sang her favorite hymns. Afterwards, dozens of people told my grandpa that it was the most comforting and uplifting funeral they'd ever attended. More than a few remarked that funerals are better without preachers anyway, or
Amen.
something similar. Amen. Remembering her pastors and her church in her will, the 1-2 punch. Okay.
Oh, we
Is
got
this like a side? Yeah,
chapters.
it seems like it.
Shit.
A couple weeks later, it was time to start distributing the bequests in the will. Although grandma and grandpa dearly loved each other, they had separate wills because she told my mom that it makes it easier for us to respect each other's turf. Interesting. And because their lawyer had recommended it. Oh, okay. Nobody thought that my grandparents were wealthy because they lived in a small but charming house in a prosperous, well maintained suburban neighborhood for the past 50 years and had worked hard and lived modestly. But it was rumored that they had a very nice nest egg. Of course, there is no legal requirement for anyone to attend the reading of the will or even have a reading. Modern telecommunications and near universal literacy have made this quaint custom practically extinct. But the reading of the will was a tradition in our family because it was one of those events that gave our close knit extended family an excuse to get together. And we never had family reunions. Very interesting. Also, this might be not a general generational wealth. Like this is more like a generational wealth friendly practice. I've never heard of anything like this before, you
Yeah,
know?
if you don't have anything to like leave people, you don't
Have you ever been to
do
a will
that.
in your family? Like a reading of the will?
No, I think the one time I would have, my grandpa died, but I had just like moved into my own apartment and was starting a job that week,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a will, and he like at was like into jewelry making and stuff. as a hobby at the end,
Mm.
and he left me like a ring. He
Oh.
left like all the grandkids some little piece of jewelry, like a necklace or a ring or something.
Oh.
I don't know where it
Wait,
is now though.
have I seen that ring
Yeah,
though?
it was that big like
Yeah.
turquoise one. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
nice.
Yeah. I was like, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I
that's
wonder
fine.
if we
Oh no, definitely not.
that's valid. Okay. Anyway, I don't think I've ever had one even when my dad died. Um everything was kind of handled very privately. My mom kind of distributed mine monthly and gave my sister and brother like large sums, you know what I'm saying? And then um I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Oh, for my ex, like, because my ex father-in-law like hurt himself, grievously, and even then we didn't go to it. We just received. Well, he received a large sum of money, and the mom took the car back. Like his dad gave us like a really cool T-top 98 Camaro, like classic redneck Camaro. Like it was a lovely little thing, but I wasn't allowed to drive it,
Was
which
that Howard's car?
um I think he has a Firebird, if I'm
Oh,
being
okay.
honest with you. But yeah, no, I wasn't allowed to drive that car, and she didn't want me to drive it or ever have the chance to drive it. So that's how I got my Mustang.
Cool beans.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and we had two cars at that point or something, but um yeah, like it still ended up with him having two cars, and like I still had the piece of shit Miata, and my car like broke down. It was a huge mess. I should have left ages ago. I didn't even want to marry him. My dad offered. He was like, I have the Avalon parked out back. We can leave. And I should have fucking listened to my dad anyway. Because I knew my dad was the one I was the most afraid of, but he was the one who was ready.
Right.
Like I didn't want him
You
to
were
think I
not
was
gonna
a
disappoint
failure.
him.
Yeah, like I didn't want him to think I was a failure. And yet he was the one. So many things. So much wasted time. Anyway, so the reading of the wills, that's what, kind of sparked that side note. But so they basically do family reunions whenever they do a reading of the will, which is kind of cool, but again, might be something that I'm not entirely normalized with, because that sounds like a generational wealth privilege thing that we would not most likely know about. And then like you apparently didn't know about either, or at least didn't participate in. And then all right, and then they were too difficult to schedule family reunions because we have such a large family, but we got together at birthdays, holidays, funerals, baptisms, so that if you attended several of these, you could see just about every one of your cousins, aunts, uncles, and even great aunts and uncles. Yes, I said aunts and aunts. I don't know. I talk weird. I kind of just go with the flow of my mouth sometimes. Anyway, who were grandmas and grandpa's siblings and in-laws. And with this family tradition in mind, many of our family members' wills often contained very personal bequests of items that had little cash value. Oh, like the flower arrangements. Like my sister and I know which ones that we want.
Oh my
It's,
god.
I know, but I'd rather like, duke it out with her. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, with our mom knowing, so she knows that we're not fighting in the afterlife. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But huh, interesting. Anyway, and do, 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 do. As an added, oh, so they have very personal bequests of items that have little cash value, but were the departed family members' way of telling their loved ones that they wanted to share a cherished memory one last time. That's very sweet. As an added incentive to attend, the family rumor mill had been buzzing with speculation, encouraged by Grandma that Grandma's will had some surprises. I'm like kind of getting to the can't relate portion of this. You know what I'm saying? Because I like it's that is a generational wealth thing. Like, I wonder how normal this is, you know what I mean? And like, black people don't have that kind of thing, you
I
know.
think it's a rich person thing.
Very might be, but there's no way, because I don't know. I feel like this is common, but not for minorities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And anyway, systemic. Anyway, um, so granddad is encouraging to tell people, oh, there's surprises. The reading was held in a conference room at a lawyer's office. Unsurprisingly, the attendees included my mom, as well as aunts, great uncles, many of the grandchildren. We were all surprised, however, to see pompous pastor and ass pastor from Big White Church. They informed us that grandma's lawyer had told them that grandma's will had bequests not only for Big White Church, but also for them personally. Ugh. Maybe it was just our imagination, but my siblings, cousins, and I couldn't help but noticing these preachers appeared to be actively salivating over their good fortune at my grandma's generosity. Grandma had a large family, so a sizable number of beneficiaries were named in her will. The lawyer's conference room was a bit smaller than an average class middle living room. Extra chairs had been brought in, and every seat was filled, and people were standing everywhere. There was barely any space for all of us, and grandma's lawyer suggested that pompous lawyer and as pastor sit in chairs that were in sit in chairs which were in front of the room next to himself. Since there was a large room and a table, this meant that the lawyer and these two preachers were the only ones who were directly facing everyone else. Although the preachers were gratified to be physically next to the center of attention, they did not notice, as all the rest of us quickly noticed, that these seats made it easy for everyone in the room to watch them closely, and practically impossible for them to leave the packed to more than overflowing room before the entire meeting was over, because they were furthest from the room's single door. And there
Nah.
were no, I bet you they're going to be the
It's a
last
setup.
one. Yeah, this is definitely a setup. I
Yeah.
wonder if the
I
lawyer
hate
did that
I
on
hate
purpose.
crowded rooms like that.
I wonder if the lawyer did
I'd
it
be
on
tweaking.
purpose.
I'm sure they set this up.
Oh my
It's a
gosh.
setup.
So there's almost 2 dozen people sitting or standing in between them to their only path of escape. The bequests were quite generous, but pretty much what we had expected. Grandpa had the house, the contents, the retirement accounts, and everything that remained after all the bequests had been satisfied. Children, grandchildren, and several local charities received nice but not extravagant amounts of money. Several sentimental items were named and given to various friends and relatives. Grandpa was the first beneficiary listed, but after him, all of the other bequests were arranged in order of increasing worth. They started with sentimental items that had very small cash value, and then each grandchild received several $1,000s. Then each son, brother, sister, niece, nephew received a little more. Then local nonprofits received very nice amounts. Bequests to Big White Church, pompous and ass pastor were almost the last ones listed in the will. They listened politely to the other bequests with steadily growing anticipation as they noticed the exponential upward trend in grandma's largesse.
Yeah.
Okay. And largesse. Okay. And when grandma's lawyer got to the Big White Church and preacher's part of the will, he said, "This is a bit unusual, but before I announce these bequests to Big White Church, pompous pastor, and ass pastor, Miss Grandma's name requested that I read the following statement to everyone present." He opened a letter that was written in Grandma's own handwriting. "For the past 10 years, not one person from Big White Church has ever called me, come to visit me, or sent me a note to tell me they cared about me. Not one minister, not one deacon, not one of the church women, not one of the church members who I worked for all these years, loved dearly, and thought were my friends. I worked very hard for you when you needed me for many, many years. But when I needed you in your church, you all pretended I didn't exist. I got one visit when I was dying, and I invited pompous pastor to come to my house to help me plan my funeral. This was my last attempt after many attempts that I had made over the past 10 years to reach out to my church and pastor, whom I still loved dearly, even though they had made it clear they did not love me. If I, if only I could have my funeral at my church, maybe some of my church friends whom I've not seen in a decade would come to the service to see me one last time. And I know they love to hear pompous pastor preach. So if he preached at my funeral, maybe they would come to my funeral to hear him, even if they would not come to see me.
Oh,
Damn. But pompous pastor couldn't find the time to visit me or even call me to tell me whether or not he was willing to preach at my funeral. As pastor came by my house, but he didn't want to talk about my funeral. He just wanted to remember, he just wanted me to remember my church in my will. And that's all. Just remember his church in my will. It was then that I realized that I allowed my church to break my heart for the last time, but it was the last time, the very last time. As pastor did not know it when he visited me, but grandpa and I had already prepared my will long before his visit, which did include double tied 20% of the entire estate for what my former church, Big White Church. This was in the amount of enormous shitload of money, generating muffled wows from their many heirs, including me. But I got the feeling badly that we had not personally remembered such night. But I got to feeling badly that we had not personally remembered such nice people as pompous pastor and ass pastor. So I changed my will to include them by name. And while I was at it, I changed the amount of money I left to the church to match all of the love that they've shown me during the last 10 years of my life. When I was suffering and lonely and no longer to able to work my ass off for them for free, like I'd done for almost half a century. That is her entire statement, the lawyer said. Now let's get to the bequest. Bequest to add ass pastor, 1 cent. Bequest to pompous pastor, 1 cent. Bequest to big church. What do you think? What do you think it is?
about a penny.
1 cent.
Yeah, get him, Grandma.
Yeah. The pompous pastor and ass pastor sat there looking like someone had just injected a gallon of Novocaine into their jaws. Every one of my grandma's friends and family felt an overwhelming urge to laugh out loud, but we kept quiet. Nah, fuck that.
Fuck that. I'd be
Because,
laughing.
yeah, because we knew grandma. Oh, understood, I guess. Nah. But we knew she wasn't finished yet because grandma was simply setting them up for a 1-2 punch. The best was yet to come, and we don't want to miss it. One thing I will say about old ladies, old ladies, when they're real
They
sharp,
scheme.
they be scheming.
Yeah.
They always they want the 1-2. They let blah blah like the what is it, the double tap.
Double tap. Yeah.
Make sure you're dead. Like it was me. Tell her it was me. Like the Tyrell
Yeah.
lady. Anyway, the and we didn't want to miss it. So there was one last bequest, the lawyer continued, for a charity called, which he named, and I'll call Black Charity. Ooh, so she gave all the money to Black people, I bet you.
Mm-hmm.
Then he paused before naming the amount. Most of us had no idea what Black Charity was, but by the looks on their faces, we could tell very well that pompous pastor and ass pastor knew what it was. Their faces displayed the same expressions of shock, dread, and horror that they would have if the lawyer had said this bequest goes to the demonic baby eaters to buy extra large rotisserie barbecue grills and tons of charcoal. Every eye in the room was now fixated on the pompous pastor and ass pastor. The lawyer, who happened to be my uncle, one of grandma's and grandpa's sons, let the silence continue a few seconds more. If we had been able to read pompous pastors and ass pastors' minds, we would have known the history behind the looks on their faces. Black Charity was sponsored by a Black church just a few miles from Big White Church, and they ran a free food clothing bank assistance programs. Not unusual, which is what the fucking Black Panthers did. They ran free food, clothing, bank assistance programs for foster children, home of delivery, pre-cooked meals for homebound seniors, legal aid, and other social services. A long time ago, Big White Church which was and still is 100% Caucasian. Ooh, this got sinister. Er, er,
Er,
sinister. Um, and had provided a few years of financial and other support to Black charity. But then there was a very bitter, acrimonious breakup, allegedly because Black charity was practicing the social gospel while Big White Church was preaching the true gospel. Oh, I wonder if it's like, you should help thy neighbor, and White Church was like, nah, rich people
nah.
only, like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Big White Church even tried to sue to get some of their money back. I know for a fact now. Big White True, although the suit was eventually settled with very little money actually changing hands. But this being the Deep South, everyone knew the real reason why Big White Church or any other church would stop supporting a Black charity. Those were getting uppity, in words, were getting uppity and not staying in their place. And those were the quote, that's in quotations. And I bet you that was liberally said. Because like when people say the most offhanded shit to me when they think I'm white, you know what I'm saying? Can you? Oh my god, I can't even imagine what people would say. It, I am shocked. I want to know. I always want to know what people say to you before they know that I exist and I'm like Black. And you know what also bothers me is the fact that Slappa does not brag about me the way I want him to. You know what I'm saying? Because to him it'd be like pick me behavior. Like, ooh, I wish you could show his, hey, my wife got cool braids. Let me show you a picture of my cool wife with cool braids. But it could be seen as him being pick me. Ooh, my wife's Black. I'm one of the good guys. And that like hurts my soul. Like, honestly, like I brag about him all the time. And granted, people don't know he's white, but also, like, I don't know how they don't know. I have your pictures like literally up everywhere. Anyway, but anyway, I'm sorry. I can only imagine what those white people were saying about Black people surrounded by true white company. You know what I'm saying? Like, not over the phone and shit. Like, ugh. Anyway, so those uppity ninjas was getting uppity and not staying in their place, and also no, okay. Grandma and grandpa had seriously considered leaving Big White Church at that time, but they had reasoned that it was better to stay there and teach tolerance by their words and example. And they knew they would never persuade everyone, but maybe they could reach some of the youth at their white church and break the generational cycle of racism. Grandma used to tell us, my church is my mission field. We did not learn the true depth of her statement until after she died. Wow. Since then, Grandpa and Grandpa had secretly sent a portion of their tithe to the Black charity every month. Most of Grandma's family, including me, didn't find out any of this until after the meeting had ended. But pompous pastor and ass pastor obviously understood what my grandma and her actions what but pompous pastor and ass pastor obviously understood what grandma, by her actions, which are more powerful than your words, was saying to them. If you'd have grown up as a white person in the deep south as grandma, grandpa, and they did, you'd understand. To many white southerners, this is one of the most personally insulting things you could do to them. It simultaneously labeled them as racist, condemned their own bigotry, and crushed their delusions of white superiority by saying these Black human beings whom you hate, disrespect, and mistreated are better than you. So they deserve my money more than you. Having allowed time for everyone to observe pompous pastor and ass pastor while they thought about how their white church had treated this Black charity and how they and their church had treated grandma, the lawyer said the exact amount is, and then he named the exact same amount that grandma named in her handwritten letter, the huge amount of money that would have gone to Big White Church, as if she had not if she had not changed her will. So basically she left them like a huge fucking chunk of money
Good.
and didn't give it to the white people. The end. Wow.
It's
that
beautiful.
that took a turn I was not expecting. Like, I fully expected racism, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't expecting grandma to be a fucking boss about it. And you know what's even like weirder to me is like she didn't do, like, none of her family knew, you know what I'm saying? None of her family knew that she was supporting this like this church charity, like what if you had just told your family, you know what I'm saying?
All right. What
Then
if
they
you had
could
just been
have,
like, fuck y'all, and
yeah,
then went to the black church?
yeah, but like, I mean, at the same time, I'm not gonna, look the gift horse in the eye, you know what I'm saying? But or in the mouth or whatever they call it. But like, at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I feel like you could have done more while you were alive.
Yeah.
But like, I also get it. Like after, like, you break your back, and then the last 10 years of your life, you just want to like relax and stuff. And I get that and everything, but like, you could have done so much once they started pulling away from you. Once you started being elderly, you knew that the other place was what your truth was, but you still supported the white people. And I like that, but I'm also like, I feel like it's almost an excuse. Or maybe they were like, I don't know, it's like almost like liberals not really wanting to change the status quo, and that's why they be fighting with leftists all the time, It's kind of like what that felt like. But even still, even through all that, she still gave them the money regardless. So I can't even be mad about that.
Right.
I'm just religious trauma. I'm just gonna blame that on there. Like I'm like, I feel like I might be critiquing them harder just because of that. What do you think about that? People just saying that grandma was a fucking lit, in the
Yeah, it's
comments.
like that's cool as fuck, but like, be a lot cooler if you would have done that publicly while you were alive. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, just like with your situation of being a pick me, maybe she didn't want to do that. But I don't know. It's still like you could have gotten your own family to join you in that. Like, I don't
Well, yeah,
know.
that's the thing about religious households in general, I guess. It's like you better keep doing what we've been doing, or they kick people out and shit like that.
Mm.
So, I don't know. I get it. Good job, Grandma.
Yeah, overall, good job, grandma. And also, I think the main reason that my family stopped going to church, especially like when I was quit like 13, 12, 13 years old, I think is the last time we like really, really went to church. Um, my dad said that all the people in the church were crooks, and I knew he was talking about my grandfather, but I didn't just know like how much. But as I grew and saw the corruptness and continued not understanding, like, religion versus science,
Right,
like how anybody could just sit with that weird, like how a nurse can sit in a church that she can literally debunk, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, or a doctor or a scientist. I don't know how anybody can do any of that. But anyway. All right. Well, next up is Slapper's Choice. Slapper's Choice. Slap, 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 slapper choice. Ah! Okay. Like,
am I the asshole for telling my husband that his culture is garbage and I won't compromise by incorporating it into our family life?
mm.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
My husband and I live in the US Northeast. Where I am from, John moved here for work several years ago from the deep south of the US where he grew up. Okay, you're not the asshole.
Damn.
Raised with Christian holidays, but never attending church. Coincidentally, shortly before everything hit, John's parents and his childhood best friend Dan and his wife decided to move here as well. What? Like the whole everybody just moved up north?
Yeah, weird.
Right. This past weekend was the first that us three couples got together since any of us moved here. We had a distanced picnic at our house, like during COVID.
Mm.
John sat down 2 to 3 minutes after I did. As he was settling our kid into his pen in the yard with us, Dan and my father in law immediately started to jokingly rip on him for being whipped and doing my job of parenting our child.
All right.
while he was supposed to be allowed to just catch up with the two other men. What?
All right.
I never understood this. Like, I've seen this at like,
Did my family ever do that to you?
no.
Okay.
Like, I like growing up saw this kind of
Yeah.
teasing of dudes who were just like hanging out with their kids or like
Yeah.
bringing their wife a new
Are you
drink.
shaking the desk?
Yeah, sorry. But, but like, allowed to just catch up with the two other men. Have you like been around dudes like this when they talk to each other? Like, what are y'all catching up on? They're like, "Did you see the game?" Yeah, dude. Right? Like that's the whole like uh got an oil change this weekend. Like, all right, dude.
Yo, okay, real talk. Like my uncle and I, like we always share a drink or two together, and we
Right.
like stand around at the bar or in the kitchen, and we share a drink together. And boy, he asked me that one time, I think like in the very early times, like where my dad died, you know what I'm saying? Because he was always in charge of like watching over me, you know what I'm saying? And he asked me about sports one time, and I was like, Uncle, I don't care about no damn sports. What's happening in the politics? What y'all talking about systemic racism? Like, I was like, we finna talk about real shit. We ain't about none of that. But no, sometimes but no, like my uncle tried that with me once, and then finally like realized I was about the real shit. Like, let's talk about systemic problems, let's talk about politics, let's talk about just being alive, let's just talk about people and being people. Like
Right. Like these are all deep south dudes too. So
right, and like
like
my
King of the
grand
Hill is not a lie. Those
it is
those
not.
first seasons of King of the Hill when they legit anytime they were in the the alleyway drinking, they were just yup.
That
And then
boy ain't right.
right, just like random bullshit that means nothing.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Okay.
Y'all should tell us in the story time or in the live react what the men in your family act like when they're catching up.
Right. I was trying to politely deflect when it turned to how mean I was for not fixing him a plate and serving him before I served myself. If I thought a certain dish would run out before he got to it, or if he had asked me to, of course I would have. Dan and father in law continued to brag about how their families do it right, where they handle the outside chores while their wives handle the inside chores, including taking care of Dan and his wife's two children. I think it's important to note here that we both currently live in rented condos that, by their nature, do not have outdoor chores, and
Wow.
both their wives have always worked full time, as I do.
Wow.
Like,
Oh
it's,
my gosh.
yeah,
Your
that's how they
mom,
are too.
your mom
Oh, my
tried,
mom.
oh, your mom found when I tell y'all, like I spilled all the tea about Slappa's family and all the shitty things they did to me. Again, it's all in there. Like you guys have to go look for it. But like your mother was upset at me. Like I'm jokingly was just like, I don't know how to make rice. I mean, I low key kind of don't, but I was just like, how do you make rice? You know, like I don't know. Like I really wanted her to show me how. She was like, how are you supposed to be a good wife to my husband or a mother to your children if you don't even know how to make rice? And then she berated me and promised that I was going to be a bad mother and a bad wife because I didn't know how to make rice. So I called my mom and I was like, how do you make rice? And she just told me how to fucking make rice. Fuck you, miserable bitch. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's like even if you like you're probably like most of them are like suburban dudes. Like you gotta mow your lawn once a week, bro.
Oh, you remember my brother's
Oh, your
neighbor?
brother's neighbor. That guy has some outdoor chores. He mows the lawn every two
My
days and
brother
shit.
just bought a new house and we like it was such a great time, even though my poor brother ended up breaking his foot because he started racing the kids outside. But their neighbor, like apparently mows the lawn every 2 days, and when they poke fun at him about like, oh, there's no weeds, I don't know what you're pulling right there, that's the grass or whatever, he'll be like, well, actually it's this kind of girl, like, and I'm like, on the one hand, let the man just have his thing, but on the other hand, I'd probably like make fun of him in the house, not to his face, but in the some real Hank Hill shit. Anyway, go ahead, I'm so sorry.
And their wives both work full time. Yeah, that's how the world works.
Right.
Like, bro, the whole day was kind of wrecked by that start. And I was
Damn.
frustrated when John left with Dan and father in law to go for a walk and
Mm.
left me to do all the cleanup alone, while also looking after our kid. I expected John to apologize when he returned hours later, but instead he got mad at me for making him look bad in front of his friend and dad. He brought up how a traditional division of labor is a huge part of Southern culture and how I was being disrespectful to his background by forcing Northern culture onto him and his family.
What?
What the fuck is Northern and Southern culture? That's not even a thing, bro.
Ah,
Oh my god.
I'm like, I'm not a northerner, so I'm not sure I can even speak on
Yeah, I
that.
don't
Like,
think a Northern culture is women not doing chores and men
right.
doing them
I
all.
think
Like,
it's
that's kind
maybe
of just America where y'all think you can just not do anything and the women do
and
everything.
the South just having just a little more like just pompous bullshit attitude
Right.
and demanding traditional Southern values. Man, in that video earlier today, just those traditional Southern values, it all stems from fucking slavery. MAGA means like make America great again means the time of slavery and when people had slaves and maids and nannies and women had to stay inside and make cookbooks and sew things with their servants bodies, yeah, because they stuffed cushions with hair and made furniture with our bones and shit. So yeah, skin too, like, yeah, that's what they want. That's MAGA, that's what MAGA wants. All right, anyway, but you were saying the northern the southern.
Oh boy. He's said he's been building up a lot of resentment for a few months that I make him do half the chores and
Make him.
childcare. Apparently, you have to make him. Shit. Since in his culture, women do all the chores and hands-on childcare. I'd be like, in my culture, women only marry men who make 3 million a year. What are you doing, fucking
That's
jackass?
exactly what they think women want,
Right.
though. I'm just like, what do you mean he's
But
been
like,
building resentment? Like, so I'm
I had
like,
to take care of my
I
child.
feel like he didn't actually have any resentment until he
No,
started
they
catching shit
yeah,
for
they went
it.
on a walk and they just
What
like
else do you
roasted
do?
his
Do
ass.
you change the diapers? Yeah. How long have you been changing diapers, dude? And I bet you that's, bro. Keep
What a
going.
little bitch.
Keep going. I'm
Keep going.
angry.
Hey, in my culture, you don't tell me what to do.
This is my podcast. This is mine. It's mine. No, but for real, could you even imagine?
I couldn't imagine like him being like, in my culture, we do this, so you have to do this, and not understanding how. Well, I guess he doesn't see her as a person,
I,
so he wouldn't be like, "What about your culture?"
I'm gonna put a pin in what I have to say
Oh,
about like how I like just like we're like changing it up basically as young people. You know what I mean? But
in his culture, women do the chores and hands-on childcare, and men do the
called it.
fun parenting, the discipline, mow the grass, and bring in the cars for oil changes when needed.
So
Like,
nothing.
notice that bring in the cars for oil. Like, you take it to the mechanic, bro. Only men can do that. Why don't you
Um,
get in the fucking garage and replace the whole engine if you're a
oh,
real man,
oh,
bitch?
oh, oh.
I was stunned.
Even Hank Hill was trying to teach Bobby that. Like he even bought that car. Remember,
Yeah.
he was like, I didn't know if my son was a Ford man or a Chevy man. It was the hardest decision, and it was the best of my life." And I was like, Even Dale, that whole episode was like, Hank, this is kind of depressing. This is kind of depressing. Oh, God. When that, by the way, the episode is when Bobby decides to be a school counselor instead of taking shop, and Hank buys a car and is just like building up this beautiful scenario in which he dies after teaching Bobby how to fix a car, and he can die happily after he
That's all the
drives
boy
away
needs.
after he drives away in the car that they spend his whole life fixing up. And that's why Dale was like, that's mad depressing, bro. Oh, my face hurts. Okay.
Chill out. In my culture, in the
Oh.
deep south, women don't laugh. Better cut it out.
Just laughing despite you.
I was. Do not start that. No. Okay. I was stunned, but honest, and told him Southern culture is garbage. It's bigotry. I lived in John's home state for 8 years and saw how Southern hospitality is reserved only for those in your in group.
Ooh.
Deviate from the norm. Be
Ooh.
queer, non-Christian, a POC, a liberal, a non-traditional woman, and they turn on you viciously. Does every single person always act like that? No, but it's the culture. John is livid and says his culture is just as valid as that of other global regions, religions, and ethnic groups. So I am the bigot by not compromising with him and incorporating aspects of his culture into our family life the way I would if his culture was Islamic or Asian or whatnot.
What the fuck?
Like, okay,
what?
so make
So
some
they
cornbread
think
or
that
something,
what?
dude.
So whoa. So like the Confederacy, like the rednecks and the fucking bars and whatever the fuck they call it. You know what I'm saying? He's comparing the redneck shit to like Islam, and he said that
He's just fucking dumb. That's
because you
is.
know what do they call it, what do they call it something, right? It's like the Sharia yeehaw, or what do they call it?
Oh, yeah, like the yeehaw law.
Yeah, like so, Sharia law. Y'all need to, somebody put it in the Discord. But I can't believe he, assuming the story is real, you know what I'm saying? The fact that he said that and then didn't put like he ran straight into the point and still missed it. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
To say like Islamic or Asian culture has anything to do with how you want to just abuse your wife and children, I guess. Like that's just abuse, my guy. That's not culture. Like
man.
culture is traditions, like holidays and foods.
What if that is what he meant though?
No, he legit thinks that like his whole culture is women doing everything.
But no, like even more so because like a lot of like that discriminatory stuff is in Islam.
Yeah, that's not a culture thing. That's a shitty ass. That's patriarchy. That's
but no, that's what I'm saying is that's what he thinks of them, and he's equating it to his own culture and religion. Right. But he. And he probably said it to be like in a mean way.
No, yeah,
you said mean ran smack into
racist and everything. Like, okay, let's say her husband was Asian or whatnot, and they incorporated parts of Asian culture into their marriage. I still don't think if her Asian husband was like, you have to do everything for me, she would be like, oh, okay, that's part of your culture. Like, no, stupid. That's not how this works. That's the end of it. Fuck that guy. He's a bitch. That's what I think.
Any comments?
Let's see. For me, every time I dated a guy who fought me on equality, I broke up with him. That's the long and short of it. I was clear that division of household labor was important to me, and I looked at stuff like if he's staying over 3 nights a week, how does he treat my place? When I stay over, how does he treat me? Like a maid service? We had talks too, but I had a very fail fast attitude towards dating. I can work with a lot, but not values. You can't meet a guy who wants equality if you're wasting time with a guy who wants a maid. That's damn right. Can you change someone? I guess. My husband and I have had discussed emotional labor. It took a few combos to get on the same page, but he came at it with an attitude of wanting to be fair and to make sure I wasn't a servant. If he had to come at it from a point of view that he just needed to find a loophole to preserve his peace and happiness, just tell me what you want, or you're just better at making the grocery list or whatever.
What the heck? What isn't that weaponized
Weaponized
incompetence?
incompetence, yeah.
Ugh,
I wouldn't have gotten
disgusting.
engaged to him. That's why I'm a huge advocate of living together before marriage. What do you think
Mm,
about that? Like living together before marriage?
absolutely.
I think
Like
so.
because like for the same and like yes, I am equating people to inanimate objects, which is something we absolutely do not want to do. But for the sake of, just conveying what I mean is like you don't test drive, you don't just buy a car you've never seen, you've or like never driven. You don't like buy a house without going into it. Like you don't buy a house without seeing it and walking it first and see, you know what I'm saying? And like I'm sure that there
It's
are extreme
mhm.
circumstances where this is fine, you know what I'm saying? But that is not something that should be the norm. And you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
but
Like I would like to try out that
people
dick.
people
And
do
I
people
want to
do buy
bump
houses
uglies.
without
I
seeing
know,
them.
I know. And we have a relative who did it. However, it isn't the norm and it was an extreme circumstance.
Right.
And then so it's not the norm. So again, I say, I want to bump uglies. I want that pussy or that dangalang before or whatever bits you got. You know what I'm saying? Whatever bits you got, I want them and I want to try them before I'm willing to commit to you forever. Because once I get it, I'm not letting it go.
Not everything's about sex, okay?
Okay. I don't care about your lies.
Like that's like I feel like test driving a car or whatever is like the base level like
But it is.
do I like how this feels kind of
Right.
thing. But like if you're gonna buy a car, maybe it's more like um look into the company who makes the cars. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like get to know
But even
the kind of
still,
repairs this car may
yeah,
cost down the line.
true.
Like that's the more important stuff than
But at the same time, if you're talking about a human, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like you want to, you like you said, like that person said, they're like testing it. How do you treat my shit when you're at my house? How do
exactly.
you treat me when I'm at yours? That is the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And the person, people like if you're moving in together, that means you're getting serious. I do want to know where you came from. I want to meet your folks. You know what I'm saying? And see how we get on and gauge at that time, weigh at that time pros and cons. Is it worth it, or is it you absolutely outweighed and were absolutely worth it to me? That's why I dealt with your family as long as I did. But I can't even tell you how exciting and glad I was when you finally fucking had enough. Dang.
All right. You right.
What? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
right.
you right.
Yeah.
All right. We got
Also, I would like to read this with you as like a teaser later if you
read what?
want. This one?
This one?
Yeah, like we can read it fast together and we could like play it on the Reddit Rainbow, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
We can try that.
All right. Is that it for yours?
I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. There's a lot to
Mm,
talk about, but it's just like a lot to talk about.
it is. I think it's like I almost wonder though because they're married before all this came out. is it the fact that he got away from that and he like but it was like brought back to his face and that's why he's like acting like this, or is it the fact that like or did he always feel like this but hid it from her, and or she noticed but thought it was cute until it
Mm.
wasn't cute. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
he was bringing her plates and like helping with the kids. That's why they started making fun of him. I
Right.
feel like it was like they met down there and he was like putting on a front to get with her, and then they moved up north and it kind of just, it's not hard to take care of your fucking kids
But it's
and
also
help your
been
wife
eight
out.
years.
Right. So he was up there with just them and just living life like that's, it's not anything, he didn't resent shit.
I don't think so.
I think he was fine, but then his family all came up there and started making him feel bad
Yeah.
and he just crumpled,
Yeah. Okay.
you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Little bitch.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You debunked me. Debunked. 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 Da 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 da.
All
All
right.
right.
All right.
All
We got one
right.
more from you.
Yeah, I got one.
All right, what's it called?
All right. So let's smash and grab this one. This one's from Pro Revenge. Your son kissed my daughter, and she is the spawn of Satan. Okay, Satan goes to church. All right. This was my first post, so I hope you can bear with me. I apparently posted to the wrong area. Also, I'm on my mobile, so I hope the format is okay. Too long didn't read at the bottom. This is not a story for religiously sensitive people. Okay. I wonder if that means like for people who
Who are
actually
gonna get
believe.
butt hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're sensitive about your religion, maybe.
If you haven't realized, we really don't like religion here. So, but we respect it.
I like
But
religion.
I
I don't like religious people.
okay, that's valid. I feel
Yeah.
like I do like the lore. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I do like the stories. I don't like how people like
Use that bullshit.
like yeah, like they get
Like
all
Jesus is a cool ass
yo
dude.
yo for real though. Like I was about
Right.
to say, I don't like how Jesus see the Jesus people are, and that's like how you. That's like, but like Jesus is probably a dude like us. You know, from how
Right.
charitable he
Like
seemed
that's,
to
I feel
be.
like
Like
Christians are like the, like they had us in the first half.
yeah.
Like yeah, be nice and do
Like
as you would want other people to do to
they say he
you.
used to
Cool.
like, I'm not going to say the p word, you know what I'm saying, but he used to hang out with sex workers. He used to hang out with sworkers. We hang out with sworkers, you know what I'm saying, we
And he
be
just like
chilling.
me for real. No cap.
Oh,
On God.
I'm sick. All right. Watch this be the one episode my mom listens to. All right. So my shit. Nah, it's all good. I none of this stuff that I'm saying, I'm so ready to say it to my mom's face. And I have said to my mom's face, to my family's face. Everybody knows I don't mess with religion and they know not to bring it up to me. So I'm not surprised. They should not be surprised that I am saying anything on here anyway. And also I am not afraid to stand by my words. Yeah, I said it. I don't care. Anyway, my daughter was in daycare and one day she was crying hysterically, but she wouldn't tell me why until I got her outside. I forgot to mention that I saw a car speed off as I pulled up, which was strange, but this is important. Anyway, I'm cuddling her and trying to calm her down to find out what's going on. And if after about 15 minutes, she told me that she was possessed by a demon.
Not a demon.
A daemon.
Damon.
Yeah, they spelled it Deamon.
Damon.
Now, I'm not a very religious person. I tell her to tell me why she thought that about herself. And I just started crying all over again. Oh, and she started crying all over again. I decided to go back in and flat out demanded an answer to what happened. I wanted the truth or I was going to go off. The day worker the day worker, let's call her Sandy, told me that she was playing with the girls and that the girls all jumped up on her because they caught the flower stomper. Okay. That sounded like a game. So why the tears? Sandy cheeks. No, I'm kidding. Sandy looked down and told me that a little boy ran up and kissed my little one on the cheek. Okay, no big deal. I didn't like it, but what is she crying so hard? Why? Why is she crying so hard? Sandy then tells me that at the exact Sandy then tells me at that exact second that he kissed her, his mother opened the door. Sandy told me how she grabbed his arm, turned to my daughter, and screamed, "You're going to burn in hell, you demon possessed brat." Wow. Is that how you fucking feel?
That's crazy.
That is fucking insane. It's a
Like,
child.
I feel like that daycare should immediately be like, you
Oh,
cannot come back here.
truly.
Like, that's crazy. To
Truly.
just pop in and yell at a little kid.
And if that's how you feel, and if that's how you're going to treat other people's children,
Right.
you don't deserve to even go anywhere else. You need to, I feel like it
Go
should
get
be a
daycare at the church,
requirement.
dude.
Yeah. Like, why don't you just take your fucking bullshit?
Oh, they don't do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
It sounds, well, blessed be, or not blessed be. That's for the cool people. No, well, you have my tots and pears.
Right.
I did it. Yeah.
Keep
See,
you in
I
my
did
thoughts
it.
and prayers.
I did it.
Good luck.
Tots and pears. You want some honey mustard for your tots? You want some honey or maybe some peanut butter and some caramel for your pears?
Maybe I want honey mustard for my pears.
Whatever, you got it.
Thank you.
You got it. Tots and pears, bitch. But no, all right. So it says, so she's like screaming, you demon possessed brat. And my daughter said, "What?" And my daughter said, "What?" And the woman screamed some more, "You and your family are going to burn in hell, spawn of Satan." I was stunned into several minutes of silence.
She was too stunned to speak.
The woman was too stunned to speak. And she told me, I asked Sandy how long it had been since she left, and she told me that she had just left before.
She was speeding off.
In comes Mommy Satan. I carry my little one to the car and get her all buckled up and kiss her on the forehead. And I asked her if she wanted to see what Mommy Satan, I pose like a superhero, can do. Oh, I love it. And she gave me a weak smile and nodded yes. Oh, little baby. You know what's sad is that baby, this is going to be ingrained in her mind.
Right.
Like this lady, this Karen, this gospel Karen, like just she started it, and I hope this mom finishes it, and I know that child will remember that forever. And I bet you that little boy is going to grow up with a weird thing about women, or he's going to be like one of those men that like the moms take care of, and like the moms let them have shitty booty cracks and like forever, like so that she can't, so a woman won't be interested in the grossness that is the boy, and like he's gonna be stuck with mommy for his whole life. That is the pipeline for that child.
The pipeline to dirty booty crack.
You think I'm
the
playing?
Dirty booty crack
you
pipeline?
Think I'm playing?
It's a pandemic out there.
You think I'm playing? I bet you that's how it happens in a lot of those cases.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Ooh, child, nope. All right. And then so she gave a weak smile and nodded yes. So I proceeded to drive by several church parking lots looking for the car I saw take off. It was a Wednesday, and I was about to give up when I actually found it. What the fuck?
She just like went church to church.
Yeah, wow, that's fucking crazy. Am I right? You just went to the local ones nearby and found that car. I don't know.
Maybe it's like a smaller city.
I don't know. I unbuckled my girl, tickled her, and pointed out the car. And I said, "Do you know whose car that is?" She didn't, but when I leaned into the window and saw the art project they had done that day, she grabbed me tight and said, "The mean woman," kinda in a panic. I told her to not be afraid. I was with her and to do exactly what I said.
Be not afraid, child.
Be not afraid, child. I'm the biblically correct.
Biblically, biblically
You
accurate mommy
googly,
Satan.
you googly,
Googleizer.
you Google. Oh no. So I put her on my hip and walked my happy ass straight to the place they gathered for services. I slammed open the double doors and the church went silent. I walked back straight, head held high. 100% I'm here, bitches.
I'm here, bitches.
To where the man was standing and made my very loud announcement. Pardon the interruption, folks. You see, the spawn of Satan has been picked up by her mother. I don't know your face, so my little devil is going to be pointing out the one person that I will be visiting in the parking lot. Point her out, child of mine.
I love this.
Which my baby did, and with a huge smile on her face. That's her, mommy. As I exited the room, I stopped at the woman's row and said, "Hello, Mrs. I am Satan, and I've brought hell with you to see. I've brought hell with me. See you outside." When now I went out and sat on the hood of my car, which was parked directly behind her car. I waited about an hour. Then there was a skinny fellow who walked out of the building and up to me. He said, "Miss, this is a house of God. Please don't make problems on this holy ground." I went off. I told him everything that had happened and that I wouldn't be leaving without a formal apology in writing to my child. And if I didn't get the apology, I was going to press charges on her for child abuse, even though emotional abuse of a minor, and I would win too. Yes, that's a law in the state, an old one, but one that's still enforced as any other. I had no clue who this guy was, and I didn't care either. Sometimes you just got to word vomit. And also, I think it's pretty hilarious that she already knew what law to use against her, like immediately. And then he says he is sorry for his wife's behavior,
No, Jerry.
not a Jerry, and asked if I wouldn't press charges. He leaned down to my little one and gave her a very sincere apology. "Okay, Jerry, your silence is violence, and you're still a weak ass bitch because you let that woman do that." That means that he was in the car.
No, he was in the
He was
in the
there.
car probably.
He
but
was
he
probably
was
there.
in the church there, saw that shit, and his wife was probably like, "Go handle it for me."
And
Bitch.
didn't say shit to her.
Right, nah.
He let that woman go in there and be like, "My child of mine," like, in front of the whole thing. He let his wife get called the fuck out too. Just spineless. Spineless. Ugh. Anyway. But nobody cares about your apology, you Googleizer. Like, nobody cares. Jerry. Fuck. Anyway. And I told her that he wasn't responsible for his wife's behavior, goddamn boat steadiers, and I wanted an apology given to her by her to my daughter. He gave a sigh, and I would have a formal apology at the daycare the next day in front of everyone. Wow. I was surprised and accepted this offer. The next day, I was waiting and waiting, and then he shows up to pick up his son. Oh, I was pissed. He asked everyone to listen to him for a minute, and he apologized for his wife's behavior, but she would no longer be picking up or dropping off the boy. He shook his head yes to his son, who promptly grabbed a little toy from my daughter, and he gave it to her with a sweet kiss on the cheek. The father asked if I would accept his apology and asked again to not press charges against his wife. I told him I wouldn't be pressing charges. He handed me an envelope and then left with his son after thanking me. And we were all super curious about the envelope, so we gathered around to read it. And it was on his letterhead, as he was a lawyer. And the contents of the letter read, "Dear Mommy Satan, I wish I had a mother as protective of me as you are of her." And he signed it. Mommy Satan got her baby girl the most sincere apology that child ever heard from a stranger. I removed the emojis. Too long didn't read. Boy, kiss girl, mom's verbally attacked girl, mother of girl got revenge on boy's mother at church. Thank you for much for the awards. I was nervous about posting. and I cannot believe all the attention it's got. I appreciate your generosity, and I told my daughter about this, and she made a little account called Little Satan 96, and she's in the comments grateful of all your support. Aw, that's funny. Anyway,
I'm upset at that ending, actually.
yeah.
Like,
But I mean, obviously, like she wasn't gonna. What was she gonna do? Like turn into beef? You know what I mean? Like in that
right,
show where it just absolutely escalated out of control, and instead of just like letting it the fuck go and moving
right.
on, they just what that's essentially what was gonna happen. So I
Basically,
mean,
but
like
still, fuck that bitch. Like,
also
you
very
come on.
funny how one of the people involved in beef was mad religious and was like a church person.
Yeah.
Wow. Also, spoiler, I guess. Not really, because there's a lot of people in that show. There's a couple comments here. I've gone beast mode as a mom. There's an indoor playground at a local shopping center, not like Chipmunks or Chuck E. Cheese, but padded walls and climbing stuff on 2 and 3 feet tall, on 2 levels, and each about 3 feet tall. The bottom has some dangling things to push past, a padded ramp, and some stuff, like normal obstacle course shit in one of those like going bonkers type places or Chuck E. Cheese type places. My 18-month daughter was trying to go up one of the sneaky stairs and pass close to where some dangling pads were. A kid about 8 years old, a boy, glasses, was behind punching them. I've worked with kids before teaching sports, so used my friendly explaining voice. Can you please not punch those? You almost hit my daughter. That piece of shit kid says, I've been punching these for a while. I know what I'm doing. He punches, hits an angle that goes off course, and swings exactly where my daughter was a second ago. Firmer voice, but still friendly. That would have hit my daughter. Please don't hit those. Piece of shit kid starts mouthing off about how I'm wrong. I snap back. He doesn't have a degree in physics. This story is bunk.
Yeah, I don't like
And
this
he
bitch
doesn't
already.
have a degree in physics and
Like,
you need to
bro.
stop. Not my proudest moment, but the kid was a piece of shit. That kid won that argument, dude.
Nah, yeah, it's a kid.
Yeah.
It's a kid,
You
dude.
suck. Oh my God, he's going. Oh, he went on and on and on.
They
This,
just telling on themselves, dude. I thought this was gonna be a good comment too when I first started it.
nope. I'm done reading
Wow.
that one. It just basically just him being a piece of shit to the
Yeah,
kids.
they yell at this kid.
And then he told the parents, and then the I'm going to tell your parents. I go around to all the parents asking whose kid it is. Nobody owns up to it. And so he punches one of the dangly things and hits him.
Wow, no way, dude. You
Wow.
cannot be writing this and not like as you're writing that you hit a kid. Be like, wait a sec. This is not a good look for me.
This would work in Petty Revenge just because it wasn't that big of a revenge, but still a good story. No, it wasn't.
I'm downvoting all
Yeah,
y'all.
I'm downvoting that.
Jesus.
Because what the fuck was
For
that?
real.
Terrible. Anyway, so that was a bunk comment. That doesn't often happen.
Right.
But like
Had us in the first half. Sorry.
right, like as soon as you start fighting with a kid though,
Nah, you're in the
like you
wrong.
don't nah, bro, you don't box a kid and then like you
Especially
actually
since they
cause
didn't actually
harm.
hit the daughter.
Right,
There's
but
like you could
he
have
hit him.
right, like
But he
bro.
and what if that commenter was like trying to set his dumbass up for failure so that kid didn't actually hit your kid, but you hit a kid? All right. That's fucking crazy. Wow. Anyway, people are just saying I wish I had a mom like that. But I don't know, like I don't my mom didn't do it publicly. She did it like in secret or like would just sneak up on people like at their work, like teachers, like if she ever had like a beef with a teacher, she would like show up just like unexpectedly and be like, "Hi, I'm going to sit in class with my daughter today." And then the teacher had to like treat you really good or bad or like, or like kiss a bunch of ass or something or I don't know, like did your parents ever do that?
Um like my mom had my back once that I remember. Like I would get in trouble a lot for like dumb shit because I was like the class clown kid.
Mm-hmm.
And So like, my parents have my back sometimes, but usually nah.
Yeah.
Just might show up to the conference or something and just listen.
I don't really remember my dad being all too present. It was mostly my mom, you know what I'm saying? But like it was more like when he gets home, you finna get what for, you know what I'm saying? But like also I'd say that if my dad was there, it was gonna be ugly as fuck for somebody. Maybe me. You know what I mean? But regardless though, I don't know, like um my dad if my dad ever like learned about it, it would be like hell to pay or like he knew somebody. You know what I mean? Because my dad's number one thing has always been networking. You know what I mean? It's always been like knowing people. So if there was a true problem, he had a few strings he might be able to pull. You know what I'm
He
saying?
knows a guy.
Yeah, he knows a guy. And it's so funny because I know a guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's one like mentality that I definitely adopted in my adult life. Anyway. All right, that's it for these stories. I feel like I don't know, like I feel happy that that was like a really discussive, like we really discussed and like talked about these stories because we had a lot of like input in them. Sometimes like I feel like I just be reading some of these stories, but like and not been like interjecting lately, but also I was really stoned last week just because it was 420. Hi, Kiki. This cute baby. Look at that baby.
That's right. Say hi. Okay. Shy girl.
I mean, she said what she said and she wasn't going to repeat. She said it was a one-time
One
exclusive.
time.
But anyway, but yeah, I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on the live react. And then also I would like to hear some of y'all's feedback. So if you hadn't been in the Discord, I just noted or like in the fandom chat, I like mentioned that some of the Flapjack family tree of cartoons, you know, Flapjack, which led to Adventure Time, which led to regular show, which led to Gravity Falls and Owl House and you know, Bee and Puppy Cat, Steven Universe,
And
OKKO,
Steven.
you know, all those shows, and Steven, you know, but a lot of the big ones have ended, and a lot of the smaller ones are ending or have ended. And I don't know if they're I think Craig of the Creek is honestly the last one. I haven't finished Close Enough and I haven't finished Clarence, the Magiswords, or the Royals. Actually, I think I did. I think it was like a real like only a few episodes, but regardless, I want to know how like we how you want to see us talk about these cartoons because those shows were a big part of my like early to mid 20s. They really defined who I was as a person and helped me out during some of the like hardest times of my life. You know what I mean? And I kind of would like to really go into depth about each one. And even if that means like, you know, sitting by myself and, you know, recording a couple, like some time with cartoons like each day I go in OBS or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And like just talk about each cartoon and like why I like it so much and kind of go over the overall plot and the things that it made me feel and stuff. I would really like to know your thoughts on how one might get started on doing that. Like I said, I never wanted Vibes and Delights to only be um reading Reddit stories. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk about our own experiences. I want to talk about like cartoons and shows and like anime and music and debate topics. Like I'm trying to figure out with my siblings how like now that we're all connected again as a family, maybe we can do a sibling episode and like how would we go about that? What's a topic that you want to hear from us as siblings? And I don't know, like just put it in the Discord. I want to hear what y'all have to say. Sorry, cracking my neck. But like I just want to hear what you guys have to say. And I really, really appreciate you. And I love you guys. And I feel like this is a good episode today.
You cute.
Fuck you.
Oh my
Oh
god. How
my
could you say that?
God.
Get your hand away from me. No. No. Get away. No, don't touch my water.
I'll put my fingers in there. But all right. All right, y'all. Well, I'm still trying to. Oh, I haven't forgotten about the Animal Crossing thing. I cleaned up my like island. I started taking videos, but they're only 30-second long videos. And apparently, I don't have like a card capture or something that's good enough for me to record the entire Animal Crossing. I don't really know. I know I'm fucking up though, but anyway, I haven't forgotten. It just seems like a little tedious and I'm a little overwhelmed. And also I'm pretty sure my Red Wars, no, my Red Wars did start in the middle of this podcast. So, all right, I'm done. Okay. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm gonna go sit on my patio and unwind for a while. In case nobody told you today, I love you. Say it back to me.
Oh, you already told me that today, so I
I
thought you were talking to
know.
someone else.
No, I love
Because you
you.
would know that you told me that.
You don't love me the way you used to. You
I don't love you like I love you.
in my culture, the man worships the ground that I walk on.
That's my culture.
Oh.
Don't appropriate my culture.
It's true though. Slappa really does worship the ground I walk on, but I fucking adore this man so much. Anyway, I love you. Bye.
Man.